Good morning. Good morning. That was really cool. Hammered dulcimer. Very cool. My name is Ro Kelly. My pronouns are she, they, and I am happy to serve as your liturgist this morning. I am joined by the wonderful Lisa Pavia Hegel, whose pronouns are she, her, and who will be delivering this morning's message. She is a part of our lay-led summer sermon series. Lisa was one of the brave and beautiful souls who participated in the So You Think You Can Preach class that Reverend Krista Taves led earlier this year. So Lisa may be newish to the pulpit, but she is an old pro when it comes to communicating messages of love and hope to all kinds of people. That's because professionally, Lisa is a communications educator and trainer, and currently serves as the curriculum director at the Speak Easy Project, which is a nonprofit that facilitates difficult conversations. And actually, Lisa will start her new position as a assistant teaching professor at Missouri S&T this fall. So congrats to Lisa, that's exciting. And thankfully, Lisa has returned to us at Eliot after a brief 10-year hiatus. Now at Eliot, she is a part of the Geek Squad and the worship team. And Lisa lives in Eureka, Missouri with her husband Matt and daughter Sophia and entirely too many animals, which is self-reported, her words. I don't know if you can have too many. We are also joined this morning by our pastoral care provider Carol Glauser right here, and our welcome team member, Lynn Murphy, over there. Thank you all for being here, for all that you're doing this morning. Eliot Unitarian Chapel is a liberal religious community committed to love, freedom, reason, and action. We are brave, curious, and compassionate thinkers and doers that welcome you in the fullness of who you are. While we are diverse in race, ethnicity, class, gender identity, sexual orientation, ability, family structure, and religious and spiritual backgrounds, we are all aligned in our desire to make a difference for the good of all. If you are here for the first time, thank you so much for coming. We are so glad you're here. We would love to stay in touch with you after this, so please fill out one of our guest forms. There's a QR code on your order of service if you didn't get one, and there are also physical copies at both entrances. And after service, please make sure to join us for coffee hour. You can follow the crowd into Adams Hall, and when you get there, please make sure to grab a blue mug so that we know that you're new and we can welcome you personally. And if you are online, the guest forms are on the front page of the website, and there's also a QR code there on the screen. And our online coffee hour is at 1 p.m. The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. We light a chalice when we meet to signify that we are entering sacred space and to remind us of the spark of the divine that burns in all of us. Our chalice lighting words this morning come from Reverend Sarah Eileen Lawal from Boise, Idaho. She calls this piece, "Seeking That Which Unites Us." Spirit of life and love, in this time of uncertainty, when rhetoric blusters about and words are used as weapons, our nation clenches its fists. May we remember, though, our shared humanity, our universal kinship, our interdependence. As we unclench our fists and breathe together, breathing in love and breathing out peace, may we recognize the spark of the divine inside all of us. Please rise in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, number 1014, Answering the Call of Love.
The promise of the Spirit
In Unitarian Universalism, covenants are the sacred promises we make with each other about how we want to be with each other. Please join me in reading our congregational covenant printed in your order of service. As a free congregation, we promise to one another our mutual trust and support. To create beloved community, we promise to be kinder to each other than we have to be, to listen fully to each other with an open mind and heart, to speak responsibly and respectfully, to find ways to improve our church for all members and friends.
And normally we would let the kids come up, but apparently we've decided to do a full contact story. So just to protect everybody, we're going to go ahead and let the kids stay where they are for our wisdom story. I don't know why I brought why did I bring this, Ro? This isn't it. It's time for that yet. Okay. So our wisdom story today is called Duck Rabbit by Amy Krauss Rosenthal and Tom Lichtenheld. And I have to thank my daughter for going into the basement and digging this out of her picture books. I really appreciated that. Yeah, she's awesome. All right. Hey, Ro, look, a duck.
That's not a duck, that's a rabbit.
No. See, you're kidding me. That's totally a duck.
It's for sure a rabbit.
Look, there's a little bill.
What are you talking about? Those are ears, silly?
It's the bill. How many people? Bill? Are we on team Bill over here? Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Ears.
See, look, it's a duck, and he's going to eat a piece of bread.
I don't know about that.
Oh, I have to turn the page, don't I?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
So we see more of the rabbit, thank you. Because it's a rabbit, and he's not about to eat, he is about to eat a carrot. See there, that's a rabbit.
Okay, wait, listen. Do you hear the dulcet sounds of a quack, quack, quack?
No, that's funny. I distinctly hear the sounds of a rabbit. Like sniff, 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 sniff.
I may have given you rabbit because you had to come up with a sound. Now, the duck is wading through the swamp.
No, see, the rabbit is hiding in the grass.
No. Look, it's flying.
Flying, it's hopping.
Bro, we went over this. Look, let's change angles. Look, the duck is so hot, he's getting a drink.
No, the rabbit is so hot, he's cooling off his ears.
Who does that? Look, okay, you know what? Look, I got some binoculars. Take a look. Maybe you will see the duck now.
Sorry, still a rabbit.
Look, okay. Let's just get him to come over here. Here, ducky.
No, here, you cute little rabbit. Over here. Come here.
No.
It's the rabbit. Come here,
rabbit.
It's a rabbit, though. It's a rabbit.
It's a duck.
It's a rabbit.
Duck.
Rabbit.
Duck.
Rabbit.
Oh, fine. I don't want to play anymore. Look what you did.
I'm sorry.
I'm really nervous about the whole
rabbit,
service
though.
thing, and I'm kind of nervous.
Mm-hmm.
You made me drop the book. And look what you did. You scared him away. And I gotta find the right page. This went way better in rehearsal. Look, you scared him away.
I didn't scare him away, though. You scared him away.
Wait a second, hold on. Okay, wait, from this angle, from your perspective, okay, you know what, maybe you're right. Maybe it was a rabbit. I'm sorry.
Thing is, now I'm actually starting to think it was a duck.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry we argued. It was pretty... What do you want to do now?
I don't know. What do you want to do?
I don't know. I'm glad that we were able to come to an agreement that we see things exactly the same way now. Because look, an anteater!
That's not an anteater. It's a brachiosaurus.
Fine. Thank you for being such a good sport. Let's go ahead and sing the kiddos off to their classes, please. You I receive, you I give. Do I start? What do I do now?
I'm doing the reading.
Oh, good.
Our reading this morning is called Less Beautiful Without You, a poem by UU Reverend Tess Bomberger. This place would be less beautiful without you, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, Jew, Hindu, humanist, and earth-centered too. This place would be less beautiful without you, your heart honed by hardship, grief, illness, seeking solace and comfort here among us. This place would be less beautiful without you, filled with joy and gratitude, seeking celebration of life's bounty. This place would be less beautiful without you, curious, inquisitive, asking questions, seeking transformations, emerging from within. This place would be less beautiful without you, striving to resist a world that tells us we are so much less than we can truly be. This place would be less beautiful without each of us, born here in this morning to seek heaven's fire in each other's souls, our own flames rising to meet. Let us enter now into a time of silence for the prayers and meditations of our own hearts. And let us speak the names of those that we would hold in care. Amen, and blessed be. Please remain seated for our meditative hymn, number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
When our heart is in a holy place, we are
Thank you both so much. Every week at Eliot, we give away half of our offering to an organization in the community that lives our core values. This week, Eliot Chapel will share our bounty with the St. Louis Area Diaper Bank. The Diaper Bank helps strengthen low-income families by ensuring access to adequate supply of diapers and period supplies. If you didn't know, it costs about $1,000 a year to diaper a child and about $478 a year for period supplies for one person, yet no public benefit program allows the purchase of these items. Thankfully, the Diaper Bank tries to fill those gaps. Let us be good neighbors. Let us be a generous people. Please join me in dedicating this offering with the words printed in your order of service. To the work of the church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings.
So I'm going to be doing this from here because I am so short that they make me stand on that little stair step. And I'm also very Italian, so if I can't talk with my hands and move around, it's going to be a long day. So you get the music stand. So how are ya? Man, that hammered dulcimer is like my new favorite thing in the whole world. I asked her if she'd come home and just play for bedtime for me from now on, and she said no. So I'm going to start a GoFundMe to hire a dulcimist. Is it a dulcimist? What is a dulcimer player? Are they a dulcimist? Okay, you're now officially a dulcimist. I'm going to scoot your microphone because, again, gesticulation may happen. Okay. So, hi, friends. Now, I've taught communication for about 15 years, and I never really thought about the layout of my classes, the topics that are covered. Most of them are about expression, right? They're about getting your thoughts into word, beating stage fright, which I was wishing I had learned better now, because it's kind of nerve-wracking up here. And in all of the years that I've been teaching, I've never had anyone come up and say, you know what I'd really like to learn how to do? I'd really like to learn how to understand people better. I would really like to learn how to listen better. Never. And honestly, I didn't think about it, because if you look at my textbook, there's maybe one chapter on listening, maybe. And it's almost always about, here is how to listen to a lecture. And they don't anyway, so I don't know why the chapter's there, but... And I didn't think about it at all. Never really very much crossed my mind. Then Michael Brown happened. Then Donald Trump happened. And then Charlottesville happened. And George Floyd happened. And Breonna Taylor happened. And things just kept happening. And I think that we've had a lot of happening, and I would love to take a break from happening, if that would be great. But what was interesting to me is not just what the things that were happening, but how people were talking and showing up in conversation about these happenings. And that's when I decided that I wanted to focus a little bit more on listening and how we show up in conversations that are difficult. And I decided to design an assignment for my class. I didn't give you all homework today, so you're lucky, right? And the article that I drew from is called The Other Side Is Not Dumb by Sean Blanda. And in it, he talks about the fact that one of our problems with understanding each other is that we think we are surrounded by like-minded people, especially when in our own circles. It's called false consensus bias. The idea that, surely, you're my friend, so if I see a duck, you have to see a duck. Only the people who see rabbits, they're over there, they're weird. Those weird people who see rabbits. And at worst, we think that they're misinformed, and now I am not talking about Roe, because at absolute worst, we think they're evil. And y'all, I'm not being hyperbolic. According to a Pew Research poll, 36% of Democrats and 48% of Republicans say that the other side is a threat to the national well-being, a threat. So in order to try to address this with my students, I have them do what Sean Blanda does in the article, and they play the controversial opinions game. Now, I start with a warm-up, get them in small groups, and I have them share things that they agree with. They have to find one thing that they all agree on, and y'all, it's a fun time. Everybody's in small groups, they're chit-chatting, they're having fun, and usually it's something like Star Wars or pineapple on pizza, which I'm surprised there's a consensus on, and all kinds of other things, and it's fun. And of course, because I can't have nice things, then I move on to the next part of the activity. Because then I make them find something that they're going to express that they agree with, that everyone else disagrees with. And there are 3 rules. First rule, you can't disagree or debate. And I'm Italian, trust me, that is a hard thing to not want to do. You may not disagree or debate. Number 2, you can ask clarifying questions. And number 3, what is said in the room stays in the room. And man, when I tell you, the vibe immediately changes. Body language goes from engaged to away. The volume goes down. And most people retreat to very safe things, like the new James Bond is overrated, or, Thai food isn't very good for them. It's great for me, but it's not good for me. You know, it's very safe. But every great once in a while, we'll start touching on things like faith and politics, and that's actually really cool because in the after conversation, we talk about what it feels like to express something that you know people disagree with, and to have to receive that from people that you thought were your ducks. So remember we did the first activity where everybody agrees with each other. It's like, no, these were my ducks, man. And I love that activity. I loved doing it. Until one day I'm facilitating the activity, and I like to walk around and listen for things to pull out in the big conversation. And there's a guy, and he's over here, and he's kind of retreated from his group. And then, of course, like any good teacher who'd make sure that you're not on your phone, I walk up and I say, hey, what did you come up with? He goes, oh, no one in the room agrees with me, and I don't. And for some reason, 18-year-old young men tend to talk mostly in vowel sounds. And I'm like, well, do you want to share it with me? He kind of looks down and looks at me, and he goes, well, I think Hitler was right. And I'm like trying to play by the rules of the game and be a good teacher and not freak out. And so I say, so you mean like maybe about, the end of World War I and how the Germans were treated? No, about the Jews. I think they invented the word flabbergasted for that moment. And I searched for something, and the only thing I could come up with was, well, I think you're right. I think most people would disagree. I got to go. And it wasn't the best response. And I'm still thinking about it about 10 years later, maybe 8. Because as wrong as I found that particular opinion, maybe I could have done something differently. I mean, what part of his life brought him to that, being willing to say that in public? What happened to him? Who told him that? Who taught him that? Maybe had I figured out how to have that conversation, it would have been different. And years later, I feel like I might have failed him. I mean, after all, he did go out on a limb to share something very personal. And the only thing that I did was to validate the fact that he was alone. And we now know that isolation is one of the big causes of extremism and extreme behavior. We have that research. So did I fail him? I don't know. But these kind of experiences in the classroom, this wasn't the only incident, it was just the biggest one. It inspired me to do my master's thesis documentary. I have a second master's degree in media production on a documentary about how to depolarize our conversations. And actually, Anita Wilson, who is in my front row here, she was actually in that documentary. I got to interview her. And a lot of people showed up to help me understand how we could start depolarizing these conversations. And you're not going to be surprised that when I started doing the research, that things had not gotten better since that first conversation. Since 2016, we are more in our filter bubbles. We are more isolated. We are more divided than we ever have been, according to the Pew Research. And, these things, they play a role. Because what we did is we started to unfriend all of those crazy people who saw rabbits. And we trained these algorithms to put us into nice little filter bubbles where the only thing that we will see was either other very smart, beautiful, and charismatic individuals who saw ducks, or the craziest possible human beings who saw rabbits. So if you say that you look at both sides, a lot of times if you're tuning this algorithm, you're only seeing the far edges of those two sides. And it tempts us into these filter bubbles so that we see only what we want to see. And y'all, I have to admit, I know this stuff. I've done this research. You flip through my social media, and you're going to see a whole lot of duck. I am just as guilty. And why do we do this? Why are human beings so incredibly in love with filter bubbles, even if we don't want to be? Well, listening to divergent opinions openly and honestly is very difficult. We actually know it causes psychological stress. So much so that researchers from the book Gathering call it identity threat. And man, when humans have their identity threatened, who they are as a human, and the idea that they're right or good, conversations can quickly turn into conflict. And there's risk in that conflict. And we are built to protect ourselves from hurt and from risk. And honestly, we should. But unfortunately, this is a problem. Because no society can long prosper in an echo chamber that makes us feel open-minded and accepting, not because we've had any practice at it, but because we're only seeing what we want to see. We've narrowed our social conversation down only to those who generally agree with our worldview. In the reading, Tess Baumbarger says that these diverse worldviews are important. She says, the world would be less beautiful without you. Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, Jew. Would it be less beautiful without that rage commenter on social media? Would it be less beautiful with the person who's espousing political violence? Would it be less beautiful with a person pushing conspiracy theories to our most vulnerable? And if we say no, what does it say about us? Look at our congregational convent. Our congregational covenant. Look at our values. We're supposed to be opening and welcoming to everyone, no matter what. What does it say about me? That I'm not always super fond of engaging in those conversations. It's hard. I know I'm not making this easy, am I? Let's go back to ducks and rabbits, right? Because here's the thing, y'all know, no, the world would not be more beautiful, or yes, the world would be less beautiful if we had one less rage commenter. That could be in line with our Unitarian Universalist values. We believe in justice, we believe in equity, and they're part of that. And so making that judgment, ending that conversation, unfriending that person feels like something maybe we should do. Maybe we need to be doing that. But when we do, what happens? It only makes the divisions deeper. We retreat further into our bubbles. I know I'm not making this easy, huh? So what do? There's got to be a solution, right? We have to be able to do something. Well, it was kind of on the tin, right, if you looked at the order of service. I think that the thing is to learn to become a better listener. Now, not just to understand someone's point of view so I can beat them in a debate later, because I will tell you that I have a background in persuasion. Trying to beat somebody in an argument, trying to win a debate has been the thing that I've been trained for most of my life. But when you win a conversation, you don't win a conversation, because there's always going to be a winner and a loser, and the person's not going to go, well, you know what? You ripped apart my worldview, let's be friends. That doesn't happen. So this is all easier said than done. But I think that if we cultivate listening as a spiritual discipline, something that we consciously cultivate every time we engage with others, we can reframe our role in a conversation, especially a difficult one, to see our attention as a sacred gift and lend our energy into creating understanding. My family, when I used to drive my daughter down to daycare, right as we were driving up, we would always say a little prayer in the morning, and it's kind of taken from a couple different sources, but we added stuff at the end. Just for today, let me speak words of beauty, do deeds of grace, and have thoughts of joy. May I listen more than I talk, and be kind to everyone around us. We're trying in our family to make it a spiritual discipline. And the reason that this is important to me is because I love the whole Unitarian Universalist ideal of seeing every human being as worthy of dignity and respect, right? Seeing the inherent worth and dignity in every person. That's part of what we believe. And as a personal pantheist, I believe that the spark of the divine lives in every single person and thing that draws breath, no matter what. So every time I listen to somebody, I'm trying to listen to God. It's hard, though. I mean, First of all, one of the first things you have to learn how to do is not argue or interrupt or think of the counterpoint or try to interrupt and give them your thoughts. And as someone with hardcore ADHD, y'all, that is not easy for me. Because usually when someone starts talking, I immediately go to the counterpoint. Or I go to the source I could lead them to. Because, I'm a teacher. I like information. Sometimes I go to what I need to pick up on the way home for dinner. These things happen. Our brains are not always tuned to sit quietly with discomfort. I'm a work in progress, just like all of you. But I think that these listening skills are a spiritual task worth doing. And I'm not alone. Anna Sale, the host of the podcast Death, Sex, and Money, she says, conversation shrivels or blooms depending on how one listens. She recommends that rather than stepping into our own story, we abandon the need to have something to say, and instead learn to show that we are trying to understand their point of view. This passage helped me a lot because I know ADHD comes with social anxiety, so a lot of times I'm sitting in conversation going, what intelligent thing can I say when they stop talking so that I seem like I'm engaged, intelligent, and a good person, and will you please like me, right? Is that anybody else? No one else? Just me? Thank God. So having Anna Sale say, just sit with that person's story and try not to have something clever to say was really helpful to me. Another person I actually got to interview during my process for the documentary was Laura Mignerone, who is a UCC UCC? Thank you, Kara. Karen knows her. UCC minister out in St. Clair. And she told me the story of during the pandemic, one of her congregants called her and said, I got my first dose of the COVID vaccine, like you said that we would have to come back to church. But then one of my relatives called me and said that the vaccine is evil and is going to nullify my salvation, and I'm terrified that I did something wrong. Is God still going to love me? And Laura did something that I know that I would not have done at first shot. Because I know I would have probably given her links or some sort of information or something to show her that her fears are invalid. It's going to be fine. Instead, she did what she advises we all do and hold that person's humanity in our hand and sit with them and recognize that fear and be with them in love and care and sit with that difficulty and that disagreement. Now, before I go into a little bit more on how to do this, I need to insert a gigantic caveat. Because deep listening and engaging in this kind of work has to always be our choice. We have to decide when we're going to give somebody the gift of our time and attention. Because that gift is rare and beautiful and special. And you know what? It is okay to decide that you are way too close to something to have that conversation. And in those moments, there is a time and a place for righteous calling out and saying, we're not having this conversation because it invalidates who I am as a human being. It invalidates my existence. We're not having that conversation. Sorry, have a lovely day. That's okay. But when there is a place for righteous calling out, there also has to be a place for righteous calling in. We have to be able to have space for attention and compassion, especially, honestly, when it's not our direct fight, when we're not personally under threat. That's a wonderful time. Because I'm not Jewish, I probably was the best person to have had that conversation with that young man. And I didn't. I chickened out. And I should have. But it taught me something. So, what are some skills? How can I help you? What can I do to give you some things that you can do to engage in these conversations a little better? Well, number one, realize that the very first thing someone goes, when they say that, it's almost always going to be something that they've heard, that they've read from someplace else, because it's a fabulous shield, right? if they repeat something that they, quote, read in an article, which basically for my students is I saw on TikTok, that's fine. I read an article? No, you didn't. You did this. It's cool. I did it too. It's fine. But realize that that first blurt is protective. It's not actually telling you what they really believe. And I'm going to give you a story. I was talking to an older gentleman in one of my classes who wanted to do a speech, and obviously this was some years ago, that, quote, Obama's coming for his guns. That was what he said. And I said, okay, I understand where you're coming from. Why is that topic important? Because what we have to do is ask questions to get beyond the shield. And when you ask a question, this is number 2, ask for a story. Because storytelling has actual data behind it as to get around identity threat and get around defensive,ness and make us more open to both share and receive information, which is really cool. And at first he's like, well, because it's my God-given right. It's the Second Amendment. It's in the Constitution. It's, you know, it's sacred. The founding fathers wanted me to have guns. And all of the stuff that he had read elsewhere. And finally I got to, when did this start to become important for you? When was this something that entered like your story? When did this become important? And he goes, well, I think it was when someone broke into my mom's house and I wasn't there. And I really wish she would have had something to defend herself with because they robbed her. And it was really scary. Man, that's a whole lot easier to perspective take too, right? So if you can ask questions and get past the talking points to the story, it starts to make a lot more sense. The next piece of advice is to then show that you understand with something that we do in most classes and in a lot of the workshops that I help with, and that's learn how to paraphrase. A good paraphrase, a lot of you English people are going to cringe because it's a little different, but a good paraphrase has 3 parts. Number 1, it's a provision statement, like, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. Number 2, you actually recap not just the content, but the emotion you heard. And number 3, you ask if your paraphrase was correct. You invite them to correct you. So, because this time I did better, I said, so let me understand what you're saying. You're really in favor of having good access to guns, and you don't want that taken away, because you are afraid that your family is going to need to protect itself and that no one's going to be there to do it for you. Is that right? And he kind of does this and goes, yeah, actually, yeah, that is right. And I know that he's the one who wrote this on my student evaluations because he said, you know, she gives off a very liberal vibe. Fair. But she's actually really respectful of your belief as long as you're respectful to her. And it was really cool to be in her class. Yes. It made me so happy. And it was funny because it was kind of low-key and not always a compliment there, but it was still really great. I loved it. When you're done with this exchange, I like to have this in my back pocket so that I am not tempted to argue. I say, thank you for telling me your story, or thank you for sharing that, or thank you for sharing that with me. And then stop. Because I know that having that prepared in my pocket gets rid of that social anxiety I have of not having something clever to say. And the cool thing is, because I am one of those people whose love language is let me tell you a story about me now, there's a couple people who are like, oh, I know that one. It makes me not do that and makes me keep the focus on the other human, which I think is really cool. And not having to have something clever to say, I feel like leaves me open for future exchanges. Now, if you're really into this, of course I have to plug some stuff. First of all, one of the things I got during my documentary was I got involved with a group called Braver Angels, and they're a national group that has all these cool workshops about reaching across the divide, and they're really awesome. Second, the reason that Miss Anita Wilson, who is in the front row because she's amazing and came to my sermon, wave your hand, my friend. The reason that she is here is that she is the executive, well, she's my friend and she cares, and she knew that if I passed out, she would pick me up. But The other reason is that she is the executive director of an organization that I'm honored to be part of called the Speakeasy Project. And we host events and do workshops on how to have difficult conversations. Also, Miss Claire, wave your hand. Y'all know Miss Claire. She's one of our own. Miss Claire is going to be working with me and some others to help Eliot participate in something called the People's Supper. And the goal is to have, I think it's 100, right? 100 meals across lines of belief and politics. And I think we're starting this fall. Do you remember? Probably October, in the lead up to the election. And that's a national project. It's being put together through a bunch of local congregations. I would say see you for more details, but we don't have that many details just yet. But keep us in mind. We'll probably be behind a table soon in Adams Hall. And I feel like doing these is worthwhile. There's so many cool opportunities to engage in a curated and cultivated way. And the goal is so that we can tackle these disagreements, all of the disagreements to come. You know, when we see anteaters and dinosaurs, we can find a way to step back and still be amazing friends who happen to see the world just a little differently. Thank you. So may it be. All right. Let's do our closing hymn, number 346. Come sing a song with me. Flame with the words printed in your order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please be seated for one final gift of music. thank you and go in peace and go have coffee. I forgot I was supposed to say that.